We have a major update this morning coming out of spring training that we're inching closer and closer to finding out who the potential leadoff hitter might be for the Phillies in 2025. We're going to get into all of that today here on the newest episode of Phillies Digest. But I do want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Just 23% of our viewers are subscribed to the channel right now. If you guys are not subscribed, that means you're not getting immediate updates when we are uploading, and myself, Sean Bernard, are working really hard over here in preparation for the 2025 Phillies season. We're uploading over a video a day right now, and we are pumping out content for you guys, and we're hoping that you guys are enjoying it. But we did get a bit of an article this morning from Todd Zolecki of MLB.com saying that the Phillies are leaning pretty much towards Trea Turner, probably leading off. Once again, nothing is finalized yet, but we did get an update this morning from Zolecki, and this is from him. He says, quote, "The Phillies and Turner are hoping to be better in 2025. The team wants to win the World Series. It thinks it can improve its chances by making Turner the leadoff hitter. Although Phillies manager Rob Thomson said no decision will be made until the end of spring," and that's as far as the regular season. This is from Rob Thomson. He says, as long as he's got the mindset of getting on base, and I think he does, being in the leadoff spot could help that a little bit. And that is in regards to Trea having a better season than the two prior. He goes on to say, because I think Trea's going to hit 20 to 25 home runs no matter what, at least. He then says, and if he can get on base at a 380 clip, whatever, score 100 runs, I mean, that's production. Trea Turner would then go on to talk about his 2024 season a little bit, and he did say, quote, he said a lot of similarities of just early here in 2023, just a similar thing of trying a little too hard, he says, and wanting to do too much at times. And then it just snowballs, and it's not the good, consistent baseball that I want to play. He says, I've obviously had really good stretches, but it's those downtrends that have been really bad. I feel like in the past, that's not the case. He says he wants to put the ball and play more, take your walks, all those things. Obviously, I know those things, but you're in the box and you've got to do it. And then he would eventually talk about potentially hitting leadoff this upcoming season. He says, I think it would be fun. It would be a little different. I haven't done it for a few years now. And then he says to get back to a little bit more speed. He then goes on to say, you take a few pitches here or there. For me, I've always looked at it as Bryce is hitting behind me, so I'm ready to hit. Obviously, in the two-hole, they'll be going after me, he says. He then goes on to say they don't want to face him. That's kind of how I've always approached the two-hole, just because the three-hole is another great at-bat. And as far as that from Trea, I am all in favor now of, I think, Trea being the leadoff hitter. I think right now for this team, I think it makes the most sense. I think trying something different, right? This entire offseason, everyone was screaming and hollering about the Phillies need to change something, whether that's the players on the roster, how we utilize the roster, or anything in between. And I think, maybe getting Schwarber back into the cleanup spot where there will be runners on base for him to hit more home runs is a very good thing for this upcoming season. I think one of the issues with Trea has obviously been the chase rate. That's kind of been what's made him struggle a lot the past few years. He didn't used to chase like that in Washington or out in LA. It's been a weird few years for Trea at the plate, because I think we've seen some of his good stretches. And it is kind of funny when you look at his stats from last season with a 333 on base percentage, 21 home runs, 62 RBIs, 27 walks in 505 at-bats, 149 hits, 19 stolen bases with a 124 OPS plus. I mean, if you look at that OPS plus of 124, that's a very above average season, but it's the matter of Trea going on that absolutely insane hot streak that he was on and then going through the cold stretches. The biggest issue with sort of Trea Turner so far has been, it's just been very hot and cold. I think getting Trea back into the leadoff spot is definitely going to help those sort of hot and cold stretches. I think once you get into the leadoff spot, you have to be more selective. I think putting Trea back in the leadoff spot is almost going to force that chase rate down. I think him going into that sort of leadoff spot, knowing that the only scenario for a success of the leadoff hole is just to get on base, right? That is the only goal for anybody that hits leadoff. You get on base. Obviously, yeah, you want a home run, and that is a reason why Schwarber sort of succeeds so much in that leadoff spot, because Schwarber is an immediate threat to make the game 1-0 on the first pitch of the game. That has been sort of my biggest pro in why I've liked Schwarber in the leadoff spot over the years, but I think it is time for maybe a bit of a change. And if they do change it, I have some thoughts on sort of how I myself would do it. So I wrote this the other day for Crossing Broad in my weekly Phillies mailbag that you can check out. They come out every Tuesday. I ask for questions every Monday on Twitter. I said I think it's tough to assume that Schwarber stays in the leadoff. Everything out of camp makes it seem like the Phillies are going to try some new things with the lineup. If Schwarber stays leadoff, I do think the lineup will stay pretty similar. I don't think they change much because I don't think there's much to change if you leave Schwarber there. You're obviously need to have Trea still up in the 2. Harper obviously would not hit later than 3. I don't love Harper in the cleanup spot just because I think he's getting just pushed later and later in the lineup, and I don't think that's where Bryce Harper should be. I think he should be in the top 3, no doubt. So this is how I would do it next year. I would have Trea Turner leading off. I am all in favor at this point of trying the Trea in the leadoff spot. I would then have Harper at the 2. Excuse me. So I would have Trea Turner leading off in the 1. I'm all in favor of that. I would then go Harper in the 2. I think having Harper right after Trea, I don't think they want to go lefty-lefty with Harper Schwarber 3 and 4. So that is a reason why I think Harper would slide up to the 2. I would put Alec Bohm in the 3 spot. Yeah, I know the common things with Alec Bohm this offseason has just been trade him. He's a bad baseball player. He's not a good hitter. He's not. None of that is true. Whatever you say, if you try and sit there and tell me that Alec Bohm is a bad baseball player, that is just not true. I would put Alec Bohm in the 3 hole. I would then have Schwarber in the 4. I think that is probably the best place for Schwarber, if not the leadoff. And then I would have Nick Castellanos in the 5. After that, I think it gets a little tricky. I would probably try out Bryson Stott in the 6 if that works. I would like to have another lefty after Castellanos. I would then probably go JT in the 7. I would probably put Max Kepler 8 and then Brandon Marsh 9. I do like having speed in the 9 hole. I think that's always a big thing for me. If it doesn't really matter if it's a guy like Stott we saw sometimes last year, Marsh in the 9 hole, Johan Rojas I think will be in the 9 hole once he's in the lineup. Having speed in the 9 hole is basically like having another leadoff hitter. There's a lot of situations where a lot of times the 9 hole leads off an inning a lot. So I would enjoy Marsh. While I think Marsh would, based off history, probably be better maybe in the 8, and then until you see more from Kepler, maybe have Kepler in the 9, but I would personally have him 8, and I would have Marsh 9. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the lineup down below. Who do you want leading off next year? What does your top 4 look like? I want to know your top 4 or 5 names in the lineup. If you want to give me 1 through 9, I would love that. That would be awesome. So once again, this has been a new episode of Phillies Digest. I do want to remind you guys one more time that if you have not subscribed already to the channel, just 23% of you guys that are watching our videos are subscribed. So we do want to get that number up. Phillies baseball opening day is 35 days away. The Phillies are in action for the first time this Saturday in Lakeland, Florida versus the Detroit Tigers. I believe Bryson Stott, Alec Bohm, and one more will be heading down there. Everybody else seems to probably not be playing in that game as far as the big names. But the first home game for the Phillies at Baycare Ballpark is on Sunday. So we are just a few days away from seeing Phillies baseball or hearing Phillies baseball again, because unfortunately the Phillies game on Saturday will not be on TV. But nonetheless, Phillies baseball is still Phillies baseball. This has been another episode of Phillies Digest. My name is Luke Arcaini. I will see you guys next time.